Hey everyone, Aaron Stewart from the Little Black Couch. Just jumping on live real quick to talk about, I've had a couple weird things happen today that have caused me to think, which is always dangerous. But I wanted to talk about just a couple ideas that are running by, and I think that this is sort of a reoccurring theme in my life recently, so it's probably worth talking about, or I won't sleep tonight. And you know what? I'm going to do some online. Let me just do some online. Can I do that? Maybe I can't. Anyway, let's run the intro and we'll get started with a little discussion from our good friend, buddy, the Little Black Cat. Hello, friends. Welcome. Friends, what did my daughter ask me to say? Friends of the internet? My internet friends. I think that's what she told me I needed to say. So, hello, my internet friends. Sorry, your father's embarrassed you again, my sweet daughter. Hello, my internet friends. Thanks for joining me today on the Little Black Couch. I really appreciate it. Today's topic is going to be one that I hope is helpful to a lot of folks. It's caused me a lot of thought today, and typically I don't like to spend too much time getting too in the weeds. I like to just work and get stuff done, but this has caused me great pause. So I've had to sit back and think a little bit and consider a few things. But first, we've got to make sure that we say hi to Buddy, or that's going to go south in a hurry. He does a lot for me around here, and he now has a close-up cam there on the live Little Black Couch cam. So we have sort of a learned, scholarly face, and then we've kind of got the crazy, crazy face emoji there. And as I attempt to do with every episode, I want to have those emojis represent kind of what we're talking about today. And so this line of thought came from a couple experiences I had today. A good friend of mine who I've become much better friends with as of late. She's one of the coaches in the programs that I'm in. She launched her podcast today. And I know that she's had a lot of anxiety and apprehension about starting a podcast. And it's Brace for Impact is the name of the podcast. And it's Casey Brown, or Cassie. I think she says Cassie. It's Kaci, and I'm not very smart, so I always get confused. But anyway, cool podcast. I listened to. I think she's got 5 episodes up, so I went through 3 of them, and I just really loved the message she presented. She does a really good job. She's one of the coaches in the program we're in, and then I've joined her little mastermind group, which has been really fun. Really amazing people. Very thoughtful, helpful people, really amazing. So that's been a great honor and honestly a big upgrade to my life, frankly, for the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's been really helpful. But some of the things that she said there, she kind of discussed we call it an origin story, but her story on how she came to the epiphany that she needed to get going and do something different. And it's really powerful and it's very nice. So I definitely recommend that you go over to Brace for Impact and listen to Cassie. She does an amazing job. She really does. And so that kind of got my mind started. Then I have another friend an acquaintance really. I've actually never met most of these people. We'll be off to Denver tomorrow and I plan to meet tons of them, but we've become friends online again through the same group. And she is in a situation where she's quite prolific and publishes, and she's quite knowledgeable in international business and foreign currency things. And she's got a kind of a hater. And recently this hater put up I actually watched it today, a video about her and what she does and what she's trying to do in investing, and he just attempted to tear her to shreds. And I was like, gosh, dude, why in the world? First off, going negative against your competitors, I don't always recommend it. I just think that more often than not, you're going to come off as petty and unprofessional. And those aren't typically the kind of people you want to attract in a business. The ones that, like a moth to a flame, come for the negativity and the unprofessionalism, not really the best people you want to build your business on. So just, word to the wise. And maybe, right, that should be considered maybe a life hack. Going negative in your marketing message, not real helpful. There's definitely opportunities and that can be done very professionally, where you can, after if you're going through the process of sharing what you can do and how you are going to benefit a client, people don't buy because of any sort of feature set. They buy because of what it's going to be able to do for you. So if you can stay really positive. I do know that there is some terminology in the online world that talks about throwing stones, throwing rocks at some of the competitors. I think that you have to be careful there. Maybe do it a little tongue-in-cheek, have some fun with it. But to go hardcore negative, and this guy did. I mean, he went super hardcore negative. The thing that was interesting to me is he made sure that he said it was an opinion, but he was attacking her credibility as an expert. And yet I couldn't find any where he listed his credentials or why he was an expert to provide an opinion. Right? He wasn't offering an expert opinion. He was just offering opinion. And then that gets into this whole discussion on who's an expert and who has the right to offer an opinion. That obviously means anybody has a right to offer an opinion, but some opinions are educated opinions and some opinions are not. And based on all the research that I did on this guy, he's done a lot of different videos and he has a lot of great opinions, but there is no data on his track record or if he's been successful at all or if he has any degrees or anything in finance. He does have some really, he has a lot of opinions and he does like to go negative. And it was interesting to see he had, I think it was like 9,000 subscribers. So some people do get all hopped up and excited about those sorts of things, but I doubt many of them buy anything. And he was just pitching his own financial services somehow. So it was a very interesting thing to see. And that got me into a lot of different things. I had a breakfast this morning with a friend who is passing through town on his way to Denver, where we'll be tomorrow. And we had breakfast this morning, had a good conversation about life and business and those sorts of things. And that got me thinking as well. So it's been a day of a lot of thinking, which isn't typically, especially not about business. I just don't like to get too deep into things. But the question or the question that came out of it is, what makes an expert? What is it? And how do we go about finding our experts? And there's lots of different ways to do that. We can go about how much money they've made over the course of their life doing any given thing and say, you know what? They're successful, they're an expert. I'm going to do it, I'm going to model what they're doing and go after it that way. Which is great. Unfortunately, that's not always the best way to go. I think most of my successes in our businesses have been, frankly, pretty lucky. I didn't have, they just kind of fell into place. There was nothing that I did expertly well that made it work out. There wasn't any sort of brilliance or anything. It just kind of happened where we were talking about certain things and provided solutions and came up with other things, and it just sort of worked out. So to say that, and so you look at a person like me, right? I just looked up at the degrees, the wall of, I don't know what we used to call it, but anyway. So I've got my degrees up there from undergraduate, graduate business, graduate school, and also my doctorate is up there, right? So I can put a lot of letters after my name, but I got to tell you, I'm an idiot. I'm a total idiot. I know nothing. Okay. But these seem to have some sort of influence on people. After you've had some successful businesses and you've been successful, and then you have some degrees in college and whatever, and I do love to learn. I love to learn a lot of different things, and I know a lot of stuff about a lot of things. But to come right out and proclaim myself to be an expert in anything would be it would just seem to be quite a spectacular lie. I just I'm an expert at being of living 52 years and coming up with a lot of different experiences and things. Now, does that make me an expert at being a 52-year-old? I mean, I guess as much as any other 52-year-old. But my experience have been very different from anybody else's experiences, and I can't say that my way of being a 52-year-old is any better than anybody else's way of being a 52-year-old. There is no way for any of us to gauge one another and make any sort of accurate judgment as to how much of an expert they are in anything else. I can't see it. We have ways where we can do it, where we can say, okay, they've got degrees, they've had success, you know, they don't have tattoos all over the face. I don't know. But how do you make sure that they are an expert? And it comes right down to, I don't think you can. I don't think that there's any really one best way of doing anything, especially when we're talking about business. Just there's the people that we're servicing and we're coming after and we're trying to intrigue with our marketing efforts and our sales efforts are all different, and they have different experiences, and they've been through different things, and different messages are going to work differently for each kind of person. And yes, you can find large groups of a certain type of avatar that may be more interested than other groups, especially when you can get down into sort of the demographics of things. There's definitely certain stages of life where other things become more popular. I mean, I get it. We all get it, right? A sleep apnea machine is going to be much more readily advertised to somebody of my age than it is going to be to somebody who's, 12, 13, right? I mean, there's just certain things, and you never market a brand new car to somebody who doesn't have a driver's license, right? There's some easy, simple things like that where we can define our markets quite easily. But to get from there, I think it gets to be pretty difficult. The whole point then of this discussion is for any of you out there who are entrepreneurs and want to go out and have something that you're interested in, that you've learned about, that you've become proficient in, you are an expert. As much as I hate to admit it, I really do. I mean, those degrees cost me a lot of time and money. And I feel like I did learn how to learn, and I became a much better student because of it, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. But to say that I can sit here in all honesty tell you that I feel like an expert because of those would be completely false. I don't feel like I'm any more of an expert than anybody else because of those. I am grateful for the knowledge and the experiences that came because of those. And again, those are the degrees up there on the wall. But I don't feel like that. I don't feel like that should be a reason why somebody would choose to work with me as opposed to anybody else. I think that really has to go towards, do you like my ideas? Do you like how I coach? Do you like some of the strategies I come up with based on my experiences or not? And if you don't, you shouldn't work with me. And if you do, then you should work with me. And that's how we should really go about choosing our folks that we work with. I mean, how comfortable do you feel when you're talking to this person? Like that guy with the YouTube video that went all negative. I wouldn't feel comfortable trusting him with my money. Dude's negative, and he acted like an ex-boyfriend more than a financial professional of any sort. No way I do business with him. Okay, so he may be an expert, but I couldn't find where he had any expertise, and the way he presented himself made it impossible for me to ever want to do anything with the guy. So, no thanks. So when you frame I guess. It's just understand that it doesn't matter how many degrees you have or how much experience you have or whether you feel like you have the right, and I think that's sometimes where people get tripped up, where you feel like you have the right to express an opinion about something that you've learned to become proficient of, you do. And if you happen to be able to know enough about something where you can convince others to follow along with you, and that what you have overcomes enough objections and makes them feel so comfortable that they're willing to give you money in order to get your expertise, then that's great. And that's what has to happen. I struggle with the same thing. And I think part of the reason I went and got all those degrees was try to overcome that insecurity. And didn't work. Good education, but insecurities are still there. So if you believe that any number, it doesn't matter how much you've practiced, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, it doesn't matter what you've accomplished in your life and what you haven't. We all feel the same when it comes to trying to put ourselves up as experts. There's some that will pretend that they don't mind, but I honestly believe that from a Tony Robbins to anybody else, we all get nervous when we think that we're setting ourselves up as an expert at anything, because there's always that self-doubt inside, and that's just part of it. So hopefully that's helpful to somebody. It's definitely helpful to me. I need to remind myself about this all the time, and I think about it a whole lot. So maybe this will work for you as well. Till next time, Aaron Stewart from the Little Black Couch saying thanks for joining me.